What happens when the weakest wolf in the pack becomes the only one who can save them all? For Elara Morwen, life had always meant shadows. The smallest Omega in the Blackthorn pack, she'd learned early to make herself invisible, to fade into corners during ceremonies, to keep her eyes down when alphas passed. 21 years of quiet suffering, of being the runt no one wanted, the wolf no one could scent properly, as though even her essence refused to take up space in the world. But when Alpha Darius Blackthorn rejected her as his fated mate in front of the entire pack during the lunar ceremony, severing their bond with a blade of pure contempt, everything changed. The magical binding that had suppressed her true nature for 2 decades shattered with that rejection. And what happens next, no one was prepared for. The autumn moon hung full and silver over the Blackthorn territory that night, casting long shadows across the ceremonial grounds, where 200 wolves had gathered. Elara stood at the edge of the stone circle, her thin frame wrapped in a simple gray dress that did nothing to ward off the October chill. The scent of her nervousness, lavender crushed underfoot, morning dew disturbed, barely registered among the stronger presences surrounding her. "The lunar ceremony will now commence," Elder Thorn announced, his weathered voice carrying across the assembly. "Tonight, the moon goddess reveals the bonds between souls. Tonight, fated mates will be known." Elara's heart hammered against her ribs. For weeks, she'd felt something stirring, an inexplicable pull toward the pack's alpha. She'd dismissed it as foolishness. What would someone like Darius Blackthorn want with someone like her? But the sensation had grown stronger, an invisible thread tugging at her chest until she could barely breathe around it. Darius stood at the center of the circle, magnificent and terrible. At 6'4", he towered over most of the pack, his alpha presence rolling off him in waves that smelled of deep forest, dying embers, ozone before a storm. His dark hair was pulled back, revealing sharp features and eyes that glowed amber in the moonlight. Beside him stood Vivian Cross, the pack's most celebrated beta female, beautiful, powerful, ambitious. Her scent of cinnamon and iron hung heavy in the air, a declaration of confidence. "Alpha Darius Blackthorn," Elder Thorn intoned. "Step forward to receive the moon goddess's blessing." Darius moved with predatory grace to the altar stone, placing his hand upon its ancient surface. The moonlight intensified, bathing him in silver radiance. And then the elder spoke the ritual words, opening the channels through which fated bonds could be felt. The change was instantaneous. Elara gasped as something snapped into place inside her chest, a golden thread, blazing and undeniable, stretching from her heart to his. The mate bond, real, true. Her legs nearly gave out beneath her as the force of it crashed over her like a tidal wave. She could feel him suddenly, feel his strength, his power, his horror. Darius's head whipped around, amber eyes finding her in the crowd with unerring accuracy, his nostrils flared, catching her scent. And his expression transformed from confusion to revulsion in a single heartbeat. The scent of his disgust, acrid, sharp, cut through the autumn air. "No," he said, the word echoing across the suddenly silent gathering. "No, this is impossible!" Elder Thorn stepped forward. "Alpha, the moon goddess has spoken. The bond is a mistake," Darius snarled, his alpha command rippling through the assembly. Several wolves whimpered and dropped their eyes. "I will not be bound to an Omega, to the weakest wolf in the pack, to her." Vivian moved closer to him, laying a proprietary hand on his arm. "Surely the ritual can be wrong?" she purred, though her eyes when they found Elara were cold with vicious triumph. Perhaps the moonlight was obscured. The bond is never wrong, Elder Thorn said carefully. Alpha, you must understand. I understand that I'm being asked to accept that creature as my mate. Darius's lip curled. He took 3 powerful strides toward Alara, who stood frozen, unable to flee or fight. When he reached her, she could smell the war raging inside him, the bond pulling him toward her, even as his pride and ambition recoiled. You're supposed to be my equal? My Luna? Time stopped. 200 pairs of eyes bore into Alara. She heard whispers, cruel laughter, shocked gasps. Her parents, Owen and Lyra Morwen, stood near the back, their faces carefully blank. They didn't move to defend her. They never had. Ilara's voice came out barely above a whisper. I didn't ask for this. Of course you didn't, Vivian said sweetly, circling around them both like a shark. Poor little Ilara. You've never asked for anything. Have you? You just take up space and hope no one notices how utterly useless you are. Several wolves laughed. Ilara felt each sound like a physical blow. Darius studied her for a long moment, and she saw the exact instant he made his decision. The Alpha's jaw set, his eyes going cold and distant. Under the authority vested in me as Alpha of the Blackthorn Pack, I, Darius Blackthorn, formally and irrevocably reject you, Ilara Morwen, as my fated mate. The words landed like knives in Ilara's chest, but the true agony came a heartbeat later. The bond snapped, not broke. Snapped. Like a rope stretched too tight, like a thread of light being torn in half. Ilara screamed as pain exploded through every nerve in her body, a spiritual severing so violent it drove her to her knees. She felt something inside her being ripped away. Felt the golden thread that had connected her to Darius being shredded into nothing. Her wolf howled inside her mind, a sound of such pure anguish that Ilara's vision went white. Get her out of my sight, Darius commanded, his voice devoid of emotion. He'd already turned away, already stepping back toward Vivian, whose smile was razor-sharp with victory. And get her out of my territory. She has until dawn to be gone. 2 of the pack's guards hauled Ilara to her feet. She couldn't stand on her own, could barely breathe through the pain still radiating from where the bond had been. They dragged her toward the edge of the ceremonial grounds, while the assembly parted around them like water around stone. Wait, Ilara managed, her voice breaking. Please, I need my things. Food. It's October. The storms. You have what you're wearing, one of the guards said, not unkindly, but without room for argument. Alpha's orders are clear. You're to be escorted to the border and expelled. But I'll die out there, neither guard answered. They didn't have to. They both knew it was true. Ilara caught sight of her parents in the crowd. Mother, she called out, desperation making her voice crack. Father, please, help me. Owen Morwen's face was carved from stone. Beside him, Lyra turned her head away, her hand pressed to her mouth. Neither spoke, neither moved. Did you really think they'd save you? Vivienne appeared beside the guards, her beautiful face alight with cruel satisfaction. They've been ashamed of you since the day you were born. Everyone has. You're weak, Ilara. Useless. The pack doesn't need dead weight. And Darius certainly doesn't need a pathetic little Omega dragging down his bloodline. I accept it, came Darius's voice from behind them, powerful and final. I, Darius Blackthorn, accept Vivian Cross as my chosen mate and future Luna of this pack. A wave of power washed over the assembly as he placed his hand over Vivian's heart, initiating the voluntary bond, weaker than a fated bond, but recognized by pack law. Vivian's triumphant laughter rang out across the grounds. Ilara stopped fighting. What was the point? Even her own parents wouldn't defend her. Her fated mate had cast her aside like garbage. The pack she'd served her entire life watched her exile with indifference or satisfaction. She was nothing. She'd always been nothing. The guards pulled her into the forest, following the worn path toward the northern border. October wind cut through her thin dress like razors made of ice. Above them, clouds began to gather, heavy and dark with the promise of the season's first serious storm. At the border, marked by ancient stones covered in lichen, the guards released her. "I'm sorry," the younger guard said quietly, "for what it's worth. But orders are orders." Then they were gone, melting back into the shadows between trees, leaving Alara alone in the gathering darkness. She stood there for a long moment, listening to the wind pick up through the branches overhead. To the north lay wilderness, miles and miles of untamed forest, mountains, and eventually, if one could survive that long, neutral territory. Behind her was everything she'd ever known, and every person in it who just made clear she meant nothing to them. She wrapped her arms around herself and started walking north. The storm hit less than an hour later. Rain came first, cold and punishing, soaking through her dress in minutes. Then came the wind, powerful enough to nearly knock her off her feet. Alara stumbled forward through the darkness, her enhanced werewolf vision the only thing keeping her from walking straight into trees. But even that was fading as hypothermia began to set in. Her wolf was still silent, still wounded from the bond severing. Alara couldn't shift, couldn't access the warm fur and stronger body that might have saved her. She was trapped in human form, growing weaker with every step. Time lost meaning. She might have walked for hours or minutes. She couldn't tell anymore. Her thoughts grew foggy, disconnected. When she finally collapsed, she barely felt the impact of the frozen ground against her knees. Through the rain and darkness, she spotted something. A structure. Old, half-collapsed. Some kind of barn or storage shed, its roof mostly intact. Shelter. Alara crawled the final yards on hands and knees, her muscles screaming, her lungs burning with each breath. She made it through the broken doorway and collapsed onto the dirt floor, just as the storm truly unleashed its fury. Thunder shook the ancient walls. Rain hammered the roof like thousands of tiny fists, and Alara lay there, curled on her side, shivering so violently her teeth clattered together. "This is it," she thought with strange clarity. "This is how I die." She'd always wondered what her death would be like. She'd imagined illness, maybe, or an accident during pack work. She'd never imagined it would be this, alone, cast out, freezing to death in a ruined barn while a storm raged overhead. At least it would be over soon. At least the pain would stop. Her eyes drifted closed. She didn't know how long she'd been unconscious when the warmth woke her. Not the warmth of fire or shelter, the warmth of bodies. Large bodies. Breathing. Alara's eyes flew open. For a moment, she couldn't process what she was seeing. Gray fur. Silver. White. Black. So much fur, so close, surrounding her on all sides. She could feel breath against her face, against her arms, her legs. Could smell. Wolf. Terror tried to spike through her, but her body was too exhausted to produce the adrenaline. She could only lie there, barely breathing, as her vision adjusted to the darkness. Wolves. She was surrounded by wolves. 1, 2, 3, 4. Her eyes continued to count, following the massive forms pressed close around her. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 wolves. But not pack wolves. These were too large, their scent wrong. Ancient somehow. Wild, in a way that pack wolves never were. Their eyes glowed in the darkness, not amber or yellow, but silver-white, reflecting moonlight that couldn't possibly penetrate the storm clouds. They'd formed a circle around her, their bodies blocking the wind, their warmth seeping into her frozen limbs, protecting her. Why? The largest wolf, easily the size of a bear, with fur the color of storm clouds shot through with silver, shifted closer. His eyes met hers, and intelligence blazed there. Not just animal intelligence, something more. "Don't be afraid," a voice said. Alara's head turned weakly toward the barn's entrance. A man stood there, though she hadn't heard him approach. Tall, broad-shouldered. His face was scarred, 3 parallel marks running from temple to jaw on the left side. His hair was silver white despite his apparent age of perhaps 35, and his eyes, those same silver white eyes, glowing softly in the darkness. He wore dark leather and fur, and moved with a warrior's controlled power. His scent hit her then. Aged oak, winter snow, pine forests untouched by human hands, and the sharp, clean smell of air before a storm. It was a scent of age and strength, of authority that needed no announcement. "Who?" Alara's voice failed. She tried again. "Who are you?" The man knelt beside the circle of wolves, and they shifted slightly to accommodate him. When he looked at her, his expression was intense, but not unkind. "My name is Kyle Stormbringer," he said, "and I've been searching for you for a very long time." "Me?" The word came out as barely a breath. That's impossible. No one searches for me. No one wants me. Your pack was wrong about many things." Kale reached out slowly, carefully, and brushed a strand of wet hair from her face. His touch was warm, and the gentleness of it made Alara's chest constrict with an emotion she couldn't name. "But they were most wrong about you, Alara Morwen. How do you know my name?" "The prophecy told us your bloodline. We've been waiting for signs of your awakening for 20 years. He glanced at the wolves surrounding her. "When we felt the disturbance in the spiritual realm tonight, a mate bond being severed, we knew. We came as fast as we could." Alara tried to process his words, but exhaustion and cold had made her thoughts slow and thick. "Prophecy? I don't understand." "You will." Kyle studied her for a moment, then seemed to make a decision. "You're too weak to travel safely, even with our protection. We'll stay here until the storm passes and you've regained some strength. Then we'll take you home." "I don't have a home anymore." "Yes, you do." The certainty in his voice was absolute. "You've always had one. You just didn't know it yet." He made a gesture, and the wolves pressed closer, forming an even tighter circle of warmth around her. One of them, a female with silver-white fur, nuzzled against Alara's hand with surprising gentleness. "Sleep," Kyle said softly, settling into a position near her head. "We've got you. You're safe now. For the first time in your life, you're truly safe." Alara wanted to argue, wanted to demand answers, wanted to know what prophecy he was talking about, and why these massive, mysterious wolves were protecting her. But the warmth was seeping into her bones, driving back the killing cold, and exhaustion crashed over her like a wave. Her eyes drifted shut. And for the first time since the rejection, the screaming agony in her chest, where the mate bond had been torn away, faded to a dull ache. She slept. When Alara woke, sunlight was streaming through the cracks in the barn's walls. The storm had passed, leaving the world outside washed clean and bright. The wolves were gone, but Kyle still sat nearby, now flanked by 2 other humans, a man and a woman, both with the same distinctive silver-white hair and scarred warrior builds. "She's awake," the woman said. Her voice was melodic but carried an edge of steel. "About time." "Be nice, Sarah," Kale said mildly. "She nearly died last night, which is why we should have found her sooner." Sarah's eyes, the same silver-white as Kyle's, focused on Alara with unsettling intensity. The prophecy said she'd be cast out. We should have been waiting at the border. We couldn't know which border or when. The other man spoke now, his voice deep and measured. The Blackthorn Pack's territory covers 50 miles of forest. We did the best we could. Alara sat up slowly, her body aching in 1,000 places, but no longer in danger of shutting down from hypothermia. Someone had covered her with a thick fur cloak while she slept. You keep talking about a prophecy. What prophecy? The three exchanged glances. Finally, Kyle rose and approached her, moving with that same careful control, as though he was conscious of not frightening her. How much do you know about werewolf history? He asked. The old history. Before the packs formed, before territories were divided. Alara frowned. I know the stories every pup learns. The moon goddess created the first wolves. They lived in harmony with nature. Eventually, humans appeared, and we had to hide. That's the simple version. Kyle knelt so they were eye level. The truth is more complex. Before the packs, there were rulers, not alphas, something older, more powerful. They were called various names in different languages, but in the old tongue, they were the matriarchs and patriarchs. Wolves whose power didn't come from strength alone, but from magic. From the moon goddess's direct blessing. That's just legend, Alara said automatically, though her voice wavered with uncertainty. Is it? Sarah moved closer, her scarred face splitting into a sharp smile. Then how do you explain us? We're not pack wolves, little Omega. We're something much older. The other man, built like a mountain and silent as stone, transformed. One moment, he was human. The next, he was the massive storm-gray wolf that had pressed against Alara's side during the night, warming her with his body heat. He was enormous in the confined space of the barn, his shoulders reaching Alara's chest, even with his head lowered. Then he shifted back, the transformation fluid and effortless, in a way Alara had never seen. Most wolves took several seconds to shift, their bodies contorting painfully through the change. He'd done it in a heartbeat. We are the Shadow Guard, Kyle said quietly. The 10 who were prophesied to serve the last matriarch when she finally awakened. We've been searching for her for 2 decades, Alara. Searching for you. The words hung in the air between them, impossible and terrifying. You're insane, Alara whispered. I'm not. I can't be what you're saying. I'm the weakest wolf in my pack. I can barely shift. My own parents are ashamed of me. I'm nothing special. I'm nothing at all. Kyle's expression softened, and he reached out to take her hand. The contact sent warmth spreading up her arm. Not the electric shock of a mate bond, but something steadier, more solid. Something that felt like coming home. Your parents, he said carefully, are the reason you've been weak your entire life. What do you remember about your early childhood, Alara, before you turned 5? She tried to think back. The memories were there, but fragmented, hazy. I remember being sick a lot. Fever. My mother giving me medicine. Not medicine, Sarah said, her voice gentler now. A binding potion. One that had to be administered regularly to keep working. The barn seemed to tilt around Alara. What are you talking about? When you were born, Kale continued, his thumb rubbing soothing circles on the back of her hand. You showed signs of immense power. Too much power for an infant to control. Your parents panicked. They went to a dark witch and begged for a way to bind your abilities until you were old enough to handle them safely. But the witch betrayed them, the silent male added. Instead of a temporary binding, she created a permanent one. As long as your parents administered the potion, your true nature would remain locked away. You'd appear to be a weak Omega, possibly the weakest in the pack. Why? The word came out as a broken sound. Why would they do that to me? Fear, Kyle said simply. They were terrified of what you were, what you might become. They told themselves it was for your own protection. But really, they were protecting themselves. From the responsibility of raising a matriarch, from the target that would put on their backs, from other packs who might seek to control or kill you. Ilara felt tears sliding down her cheeks. They poisoned me. For 21 years, they poisoned me. Yes. And when Darius rejected me last night, when the mate bond was severed, her wolf stirred inside her for the first time since the rejection, a sleepy, curious movement. The shock broke the binding, didn't it? Kyle's smile was fierce with pride. The prophecy said it would take a great trauma to shatter what magic had sealed. Your mate's rejection, the bonds breaking. It was violent enough to crack the binding wide open. Your true power is waking up, Ilara. You just need to learn to access it. As if in response to his words, something shifted deep inside her chest. Not pain this time, but pressure. A sensation of something vast and ancient uncurling, stretching, waking after a very long sleep. "Hello, little one," a voice said in her mind. Feminine, ancient, powerful beyond measure. "I've been waiting for you to find me." Ilara gasped. There's something in my head." "Not something," Sarah corrected, grinning. "Someone. Your wolf. Your true wolf. The one that's been locked away all these years." "What do I do?" Panic edged into Ilara's voice. The presence in her mind felt enormous, far too large to be contained in her small body. "You say hello," Kyle said. "You learn to work together." And then, his silver eyes blazed with anticipation. "Then you let her out." The presence pulsed, filling Ilara's awareness. "They caged us," the wolf said, her voice layered with fury and something else. Hunger. "They made us small. But we were never meant to be small, were we, little one? We were meant to be mighty." "I'm scared," Ilara admitted, speaking both to Kyle and to the wolf inside her. "Good," the wolf purred. "Fear means you're paying attention. Now, shall we show them what we really are?" Energy began building in Ilara's chest, spreading outward through her limbs. Her skin prickled, her vision sharpened. She could smell everything suddenly. The aged wood of the barn, the rain-soaked earth outside, the distinct sense of the three warriors watching her with anticipation. And underneath it all, her own scent changing, evolving. Lavender and morning dew, yes, but now layered with something else. Moonlight, starlight, ancient power. "Stand up," Kyle instructed, moving back to give her space. The other two did the same. "Don't fight it. Let it happen." Ilara rose on shaking legs. The pressure inside her was building, becoming almost unbearable. She felt like a vessel filled beyond capacity, ready to overflow. "Now," the wolf commanded. "Let me out." The transformation hit like an earthquake, but it was nothing like the shifts Ilara had experienced before, those awkward, painful processes that left her with a wolf body too small, too weak. This was fluid, powerful, inevitable. She felt her bones flowing rather than breaking, felt her body expanding outward instead of simply changing shape. Fur erupted across her skin, not the dull brown she'd always manifested before, but something else entirely. Silver white at the base, shot through with veins of color that seemed to shimmer and shift. Lavender, gold, the blue-white of moonlight on snow. She kept growing. Larger than any Omega, larger than a Beta, larger than an Alpha. Her paws hit the ground, massive, each one the size of a dinner plate. Her tail swept behind her, long and thick. Her senses exploded outward. She could hear a stream running half a mile away, could smell deer browsing in the forest to the east, could sense the ancient magic woven through the very earth beneath her feet. And her eyes, she could see her reflection in the fear-glossed surface of a puddle near the barn's entrance. They glowed with inner light, not yellow or amber, but silver-white with veins of violet and gold. Power erupted from her in a wave that shook the barn's walls and sent loose boards clattering to the ground. The very air seemed to bend around her, responding to her presence like a physical force. She opened her jaws and howled. The sound that came out was nothing human, nothing that any normal wolf could produce. It was the howl of storm winds, of thunder, of the mountain itself crying out. It rolled across the forest in waves, shaking leaves from trees, sending birds exploding from their perches in panicked flocks. When the sound finally faded, leaving only ringing silence in its wake, Elara looked down at the three warriors. All three had dropped to one knee, their heads bowed. "She is the matriarch," Kyle said, his voice rough with emotion. "The prophecy is fulfilled. The last queen of wolves has risen." The days after Elara's first true transformation blurred together in a haze of training, discovery, and the slow, careful construction of trust. Kyle took her to their sanctuary, a hidden compound, deep in neutral territory, carved into the side of a mountain, and protected by wards so ancient that Elara could feel them humming in her bones. It was here that the Shadow Guard made their base. And it was here that Elara began to understand exactly what she'd become. The Guard numbered 10 in total. Kyle, their leader. Sarah, sharp-tongued and deadly. Marcus, the silent mountain of a man. Rowan, a strategist, whose mind worked 3 steps ahead of everyone else. Twin sisters, Ash and Ember, who fought with synchronized precision. Finn, a healer whose gentle demeanor hit a warrior's core. Talia, who moved like smoke and struck like lightning. Dax, whose laugh was infectious, but whose aim with a bow was perfect. And Lyric, whose gift with languages extended to reading ancient texts that held the Pack's true history. Each had sworn themselves to the prophecy before Elara was even born, dedicating their lives to finding and protecting the matriarch when she finally awakened. Each bore scars from battles fought in her name before she even knew she existed. The prophecy was specific, Lyric explained one evening, spreading an ancient text across the compound's library table. Her fingers traced the faded symbols reverently. "Listen, when moonlight shatters and wolves weep blood, when false bonds break and the weak stand tall, the last matriarch will rise from ruin. She will be silver and storm, marked by rejection, crowned by truth, bearing the power of 10,000 ancestors. She will come when the Packs have forgotten their purpose, when alphas rule by strength alone and wisdom dies. She will remake what was broken, or all will fall to endless darkness." Elara ran her fingers over the text, feeling the magic embedded in the very parchment. "It sounds like a lot of pressure." "It is," Kyle said from where he leaned against the doorframe. "But you're not alone in carrying it. That's what we're here for." And they meant it. Over the following weeks, each member of the Guard took turns teaching her, training her, helping her understand the extent of her abilities. Marcus taught her to shift with intention, to flow between forms as naturally as breathing. Under his patient guidance, the transformation that had once left her exhausted now energized her, filling her with vitality rather than draining it. Sarah showed her combat, not the clumsy attacks of pack sparring, but true warrior techniques refined over centuries. You're larger than any alpha, Sarah said, circling Alara's wolf form with critical eyes. Use that. Your size is a weapon all on its own, but only if you know how to leverage it properly. Rowan taught her strategy, showing her maps of pack territories and explaining the complex political web that existed between them. Knowledge is power, he'd said. Understanding your enemies and your potential allies is just as important as physical strength. The twins worked with her on speed and coordination. Despite her size, they taught her to move with grace, to use her bulk without becoming slow or clumsy. But it was Finn who helped her discover her most unique gift. All matriarchs possessed empathic abilities, he explained, his gentle voice steady as he guided her through a meditation exercise. But yours might be even stronger because of how long it was suppressed. Try to feel outward. Don't search for thoughts. That's not how it works. Search for emotions. For the essence of those around you. Alara closed her eyes, centering herself as Finn had taught her. She extended her awareness outward like tendrils of moonlight, searching, seeking. There. Kyle, standing guard at the compound's entrance. She could feel him, his steady determination, his fierce protective instinct, but also a deep well of loneliness that he kept carefully hidden. The weight of responsibility he'd carried for so long, searching for her, wondering if the prophecy was real, or if he'd wasted his life chasing myths. Further out. Sarah, training in the courtyard, all sharp edges and controlled aggression on the surface, but underneath, a bone-deep loyalty and surprising compassion she'd die before admitting to. Marcus, tending the compound's small garden. Peaceful satisfaction, but tinged with old grief. Someone he'd lost long ago, whose absence still ached. I can feel them, Alara breathed. All of them. Their emotions, their pain, their joy. It's overwhelming, Finn supplied gently. Beautiful, she corrected. Terrifying, but beautiful. With that empathic sense came another gift, the ability to soothe pain, both physical and emotional. When Marcus injured his shoulder during training, Alara instinctively reached out, and silver-white light flowed from her hands into his body. The damage knitted itself back together under her touch, guided by instinct she hadn't known she possessed. All life is connected, Finn told her afterward. The moon goddess's power flows through all of us like a river. You're simply learning to direct that flow, to channel it where it's needed most. Days turned to weeks. Autumn deepened into early winter, and Alara grew stronger, more confident, more comfortable in the skin she'd been denied for 21 years. The found family the guard provided filled spaces in her heart she hadn't realized were empty. For the first time in her life, she was surrounded by people who valued her, who saw her not as a burden, but as something precious and vital. Kyle became her anchor, not a mate. She was still too raw from Darius's rejection to even think about that kind of bond. But a partner, a teacher, a steady presence who never wavered in his belief in her. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked him one night as they sat on the compound's walls, watching stars wheel overhead. "Dedicating your life to searching for someone who might not have even existed?" Kyle was quiet for a long moment. "When I was young, I thought the prophecy was my burden, something I had to do because fate demanded it. But over the years, I realized it was never about fate. It was about choice. I chose to believe. I chose to search. I chose to dedicate myself to something greater than just surviving day to day." He turned to look at her, his scarred face softened by starlight. "And now that I've found you, I know every moment of searching was worth it. Not because of what you are, Alara, because of who you are. You're kind despite every reason you have to be bitter. You're strong despite spending your whole life being told you were weak. You're everything the prophecy said you'd be, and so much more besides. The honesty in his voice made Alara's chest tight. I don't know if I can be what everyone needs me to be. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to try. His hand found hers, warm and solid. And you won't do it alone. Whatever comes, we face it together. That's what the guard swore. That's what I swear. It was during the 4th week of her training that the first threat found them. Alara was practicing her shifting in the compound's training yard, moving through the transformation again and again until it felt as natural as breathing, when Talia appeared at a dead run. "Scouts!" she gasped. "From the Blackthorn pack. They know you're alive. They're tracking your trail." Kyle appeared from the main hall, Marcus and Sarah at his heels. "How many?" "3 that I spotted. But where there's scouts, a war party won't be far behind." Sarah grinned, sharp and dangerous. "Good. Let them come." They rejected her, cast her out to die. Now they get to see what they threw away. "We don't know what they want," Rowan cautioned, joining the group with Lyric and the twins flanking him. "Could be they're coming to apologize, to offer reparations. More likely they're coming to either reclaim her or eliminate her," Kyle said grimly. "If word spread about what happened during her rejection, about the power surge that accompanied the bond's breaking, other packs will have heard. They'll know something is different about her." Alara felt her wolf rise to the surface, felt power crackling through her veins. "Then we make it clear that I'm not property to be reclaimed or a threat to be eliminated. I'm done being afraid of them." Kyle studied her for a moment, then nodded. "All right. But we do this smart. Ash, Ember, take positions on the ridges. If this goes badly, we need eyes on their reinforcements. Talia, shadow their scouts, but don't engage. Finn, prepare the sanctuary wards. I want this place locked down tight. Everyone else with me and Alara." They moved with the efficiency of warriors who'd trained together for years. Within minutes, the compound was secured, and the guard had taken up defensive positions around the main entrance. They didn't have to wait long. As the sun reached its zenith, wolves emerged from the forest, not 3, but 20. Maybe more. The Blackthorn pack had come in force, and at their head, flanked by his new mate Vivian, strode Alpha Darius Blackthorn. His scent hit Alara first, forest, embers, ozone, and for a moment, she felt phantom pain in her chest where their bond had been. But it was only a flicker, easily dismissed. Whatever connection they'd shared was gone, burned away by his rejection and her transformation. The war party stopped 50 yards from the compound's entrance, arrayed in fighting formation. Several of the wolves Alara recognized, pack members who'd watched her exile without a word of protest. Her parents were there too, lurking near the back, their eyes carefully averted. Darius shifted to human form, Vivienne doing the same beside him. He stood proud and imperious, every inch the alpha he'd been bred to be. "Alara Morwen," he called out, his voice carrying clearly through the cold air. "I know you're here. Show yourself." Kyle glanced at Alara. "You don't have to face him if you're not ready." "I'm ready," she said, and realized she meant it. The frightened Omega who'd been rejected 6 weeks ago was gone. In her place stood something new, something he couldn't comprehend. She stepped forward, Kyle at her right shoulder, Sarah at her left, the rest of the guard flanking her in a formation that spoke of elite military discipline. She was dressed in leather and fur now, clothes provided by the guard, her hair braided back in a warrior's style. But more than that, she carried herself differently. Head high, shoulders back, eyes meeting Darius's without flinching. She saw the exact moment he registered the change. His amber eyes widened fractionally, his nostrils flaring as he caught her scent. Still lavender and morning dew, but now layered with power, with moonlight, with danger. "Darius," she said. "Not Alpha, not Sir. Just his name, spoken with neither fear nor respect. You came a long way to visit someone you rejected and left to die. What do you want?" "To bring you home," he said, though there was uncertainty in his voice now. What happened at the lunar ceremony was regrettable, hasty. I've spoken with the elders, and we're prepared to reinstate you to the pack, with full honors and a formal apology." "How generous," Sarah drawled. "You almost murder her, and now you want to give her an apology. I'm sure that makes everything better." Vivian's lip curled. "Watch your tongue, rogue. You're addressing an alpha." "I'm addressing a fool who threw away the greatest gift the moon goddess could have given him," Sarah shot back. "There's a difference." Darius's jaw tightened. "Ilara, be reasonable. You're a member of the Blackthorn pack. You belong with us. Whatever changes have occurred, whatever new abilities you've developed, we can help you control them. We can keep you safe." "She doesn't need your protection," Kale said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "She has ours." "And who are you?" Darius demanded, his alpha presence flaring outward in an attempt to dominance. It rolled over the assembled guard like water off stone. Not one of them so much as flinched. "I am Kale Stormbringer, commander of the Shadow Guard, and you are standing before the last matriarch of wolves, prophesied and awakened. You would do well to remember that the next time you presume to give her orders." Laughter erupted from the Blackthorn wolves, nervous, uncertain laughter, as though they couldn't quite decide if this was a joke or a threat. Vivian stepped forward, her beautiful face twisted with contempt. "A matriarch? Please, those are children's stories. Bedtime tales to make weak wolves feel special. She's just an Omega who got lucky, who found some rogues desperate enough to feed her delusions of grandeur." The words hung in the air for a heartbeat. Then Ilara transformed. She didn't announce it, didn't make a show of it. She simply shifted, the transformation so fast and fluid that several of the Blackthorn wolves yelped in surprise. And they saw what she truly was. The massive silver-white wolf towered over every one of them, larger than any alpha they'd ever seen. Her eyes blazed with inner light, silver, violet, gold, and power radiated from her in waves that made the very air shimmer. Ancient, terrible, beautiful beyond words. She took one step forward, her massive paw making no sound on the frozen ground despite her size. The assembled Blackthorn pack stumbled backward, several of them dropping to their bellies in instinctive submission. Even Darius paled, his alpha confidence cracking. Only Vivian remained standing, though the scent of her fear hung thick in the air. Ilara shifted back to human form, and when she spoke, her voice carried the layered resonance of both her and her wolf, speaking as one. "I am no longer Ilara Morwen, cast out Omega of the Blackthorn pack. I am Ilara Stormbringer, matriarch of the old line, first among wolves, queen of the wild hunt. And you have no power over me." The silence that followed was absolute. "That's..." Vivian's voice came out as a whisper. "That's impossible." "The impossible becomes real," Lyric called out from her position on the compound wall. "When you finally stop lying to yourself about what's true." The prophecy spoke of her. The moon goddess marked her, and your pack tried to kill her. History will not be kind to your choices, Beta Vivian. Darius seemed to shake himself, rallying. "Prophecy or not, Ilara." "Matriarch Ilara," Sarah corrected sweetly, her hand resting on the hilt of her blade. "Matriarch," Darius ground out, though the word seemed to cost him. You can't seriously intend to remain in this place with these rogues. You're meant to lead a pack, not hide in the mountains with outcasts. These outcasts protected me when my own pack left me to die, Alara said quietly. They trained me, valued me, saw me as something more than a burden or a mistake. They're my family now, Darius. Something you and the Blackthorn pack could never be. Your parents poisoned me. Alara cut him off, her voice sharp as broken glass. For 21 years, they fed me a binding potion that suppressed my true nature. They kept me weak, kept me small, because they were too afraid to deal with what I actually was. So spare me the appeal to family. I know exactly what my blood relations are worth. Among the Blackthorn wolves, Owen and Lyra Morwen flinched as though struck. Vivienne recovered her composure, stepping forward with her chin raised defiantly. You think you can just walk away from your pack? That's not how it works. You were born Blackthorn. You'll die Blackthorn. And if you won't come willingly, her smile turned vicious. Well, we didn't come unprepared for resistance. She shifted, her wolf form sleek and powerful and beautiful. Behind her, the rest of the Blackthorn wolves did the same, 20 pairs of eyes glowing in the midday sun. Teeth bared in threat. The Shadow Guard responded instantly, all 9 of them transformed as one, moving to protective positions around Alara. But they didn't become normal wolves. Rowan's form was massive, easily twice the size of an alpha, with fur the color of midnight and eyes that glowed silver white. Marcus became something that looked carved from living stone, his coat gray as granite and just as unbreakable. Sarah's wolf was lean and deadly, moving with preternatural speed. The twins became mirror images of flame-colored fur and synchronized motion. Finn's form shimmered with healing light. Talia's seemed to fade in and out of shadow. Dax's was built for endurance, powerful and steady. Lyric's bore markings that looked like ancient text written in silver along her sides. And Kale became storm itself. His wolf was huge, second in size only to Alara, with fur that crackled with barely contained energy. Lightning seemed to dance along his coat, and his eyes blazed with the fury of tempests. The Blackthorn wolves stopped cold, their aggressive formation crumbling as terror replaced battle lust. These weren't wolves. These were something else entirely. Dire wolves, guardian spirits, creatures from legends that were supposed to be extinct. Last chance, Kyle said, his voice carrying even in wolf form, a trick only the most powerful could manage. Leave now. Return to your territory. Spread the word that the matriarch is claimed and protected. Or, his teeth gleamed in the sunlight. Learn why the Shadow Guard was feared even by the first alphas. For a long moment, no one moved. The Blackthorn pack stood frozen, caught between their alpha's orders and the primal instinct screaming at them to run. Then Vivienne, proud and foolish to the last, lunged. She crossed the distance between them in a single bound, jaws aimed for Alara's throat. A killing strike, fast and vicious. She never made contact. Alara moved, not with the clumsy desperation of someone defending themselves, but with the fluid certainty of a predator who knew exactly how outmatched her attacker was. One massive paw caught Vivienne mid-leap, swatting her from the air as easily as someone might swat a fly. Vivienne hit the ground hard, the impact driving the air from her lungs. Before she could rise, Alara's jaws closed around her throat, not breaking skin but holding her there, pinned and helpless. The message was clear. I could kill you. I choose not to. The scent of Vivienne's terror flooded the area. Alara held her there for 3 heartbeats, then released her. stepping back and shifting to human form once more. Vivian scrambled away, shifting back herself, her hand pressed to her unbroken throat. Blood would have been cleaner than mercy. The humiliation of being so effortlessly defeated was written across her face. "You attacked a matriarch," Alara said softly. "That's a crime punishable by death under the old laws. But I'm not interested in death today. I'm interested in justice." She turned her gaze to Darius, who stood frozen, clearly struggling to process what he'd just witnessed. "Your mate tried to kill me, Darius, in front of witnesses, in front of you. What are you going to do about it?" The trap was perfect. If he defended Vivienne, he admitted he condoned attacking the matriarch. If he punished her, he lost face in front of his pack. Either way, his authority was undermined. "Vivienne acted without my order," Darius said finally, his voice strained. "She will be disciplined." "Not good enough," Sarah said. "She challenged the matriarch. That makes her a rogue by ancient law. She's cast out." "You can't," Vivienne started. "I can," Alara interrupted. "And I do. Vivienne Cross, you are hereby banished from all pack territories. You're rogue now. Welcome to the life you tried to condemn me to." Vivienne's face went white. Being declared rogue was a death sentence. No pack would accept her, no territory would shelter her. She'd live as a hunted thing until something stronger finally ended her. "You're being cruel," she whispered. "I'm being merciful," Alara corrected. "You tried to murder me. I'm letting you live. If our positions were reversed, would you do the same?" Vivienne didn't answer. They both knew she wouldn't have. Alara turned back to Darius and the assembled pack. "As for the rest of you, hear this and carry it back to your Alpha's territory. I am Alara Stormbringer, the risen matriarch. These lands are now under my protection. These wolves are mine to command, and any who threaten what is mine will answer to me." She let her power flare outward, just enough to make her point. Several of the Blackthorn wolves whimpered and dropped their eyes. The old laws are awakening, whether the packs are ready or not. Alphas who rule by strength alone, who reject the wisdom of the moon goddess, who harm the weak for sport, their time is ending. A new age is coming. You can join it, or you can be swept away by it. But you cannot stop it. She took a step forward, and the entire Blackthorn pack took a step back. "So go home, Darius Blackthorn. Tell the other packs what you saw here today. Tell them the matriarch has risen, and the Shadow Guard stands with her. Tell them that any wolf who seeks sanctuary will find it in my territory. But those who bring violence, who prey on the weak, who dishonor the old ways," her smile was sharp as winter frost, "they'll find something very different." Darius held her gaze for a long moment. She saw the war raging behind his eyes, pride battling with self-preservation, arrogance fighting against the undeniable evidence of his own inadequacy. Finally, his shoulders slumped almost imperceptibly. He had made a mistake. He hadn't just rejected his fated mate, he had rejected his queen. "We're leaving," he said, his voice carefully neutral. He turned to his pack. "All of you. Now." The Blackthorn wolves began retreating, some of them still watching Alara and the guard with wide, fearful eyes. Vivienne, stripped of her rank, her future, everything, stumbled after them, no longer welcome but with nowhere else to go. Alara's parents hesitated, hanging back as the others left. Owen Morwen finally found his voice. "Ilara, we—" He stopped, seeing the ice in her eyes. "We did what we thought was right, what we thought would keep you safe." "You kept me prisoner," Alara said quietly. "You stole my childhood, my identity, my power." You made me believe I was worthless because you were too cowardly to face the truth about what I was. We were afraid, Lyra whispered, tears streaming down her face. You were so powerful, even as a baby. We didn't know what to do. You could have trusted me, trained me, helped me learn to control it. Ilara's voice cracked despite her best efforts. Instead, you broke me, and you were going to let me die rather than admit what you'd done. We're sorry, Owen said, and he sounded like he meant it. We know it's not enough, but we are genuinely, truly sorry. Ilara was quiet for a long moment, feeling her wolf's rage warring with her human heart's complicated grief. I'm not ready to forgive you. Maybe I never will be. But she took a breath. If you truly want to make amends, there are ways. The matriarch's territory will need pack liaisons, wolves who can communicate with the traditional packs, who can help transition to the new order. It's dangerous work. You'll be targets for those who resist change. But it would be a start. Owen and Lyra looked at each other, then back at their daughter. We'll do it, Owen said. Whatever you need, whatever it takes. Then return to Blackthorn territory for now. When I'm ready to reach out to the packs, I'll send for you. Ilara's voice was steady, giving nothing away. That's the best I can offer. Her parents bowed, a gesture of respect, of submission, and retreated with the others, leaving Ilara standing with her guard as the Blackthorn pack disappeared into the forest. When the last wolf was gone, Ilara let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. The strength drained from her legs, and she sat down hard on the frozen ground. Immediately, Cale was there, his hand warm on her shoulder. You all right? I don't know, she admitted. I just banished someone, established dominion over who knows how much territory, and told my parents I might never forgive them. I think I'm supposed to feel powerful or vindicated or something. But mostly I just feel tired. That's because you're doing it right, Sarah said, dropping down beside her. Tyrants feel powerful when they crush their enemies. Real leaders just feel the weight of necessary choices. Marcus approached, shifting to human form, and offered Ilara a water skin. She took it gratefully, drinking deep. What happens now? She asked, looking around at the guard, her family. The Blackthorn pack will spread word about today. Other packs will come, either to challenge me or to test whether I'm real. We can't just hide up here forever. No, Kyle agreed, settling onto the ground across from her. We can't. It's time to start building what you envisioned. The matriarch's territory. A place where the old laws are honored, where strength is balanced with wisdom, where wolves who don't fit their pack's idea of perfection can find sanctuary. That's going to make us a lot of enemies, Rowan pointed out. Alphas don't like being told their way of ruling is wrong. Let them come, Ash said, her sister Ember nodding agreement. We've been waiting 20 years for this. We're ready. Ilara looked at each of them. These warriors who dedicated their lives to a prophecy, who'd protected her, trained her, become her family. You know this is going to be dangerous, right? Blood will be spilled. Lives will be lost. The packs won't transition peacefully to a new order. Did you think we didn't know that? Finn asked gently. We swore to serve the matriarch and usher in a new age. That oath was never going to be fulfilled in peace and comfort. Talia grinned from where she lounged against the compound wall. Besides, where's the fun in peaceful transitions? I signed up for legendary battles and dramatic confrontations. Don't disappoint me now, Your Majesty. Despite everything, Ilara laughed. Don't call me that. Too late, Dax said cheerfully. You claimed the title. You're stuck with it now. Matriarch, Queen, Your Majesty. We're going to be insufferable about it. I never claimed to be a queen. You said I am Ilara Stormbringer, the risen matriarch, Lyric pointed out, her expression innocent. In that tone, with that much power behind it, you're absolutely a queen. Own it. Kyle caught Ilara's eye, and something warm passed between them. Not the electric bond of fated mates, but something that might be even stronger. Choice, trust, partnership freely given. So we build, Ilara said, feeling certainty settle over her like a mantle. We establish the territory officially. We set up systems for wolves who want to join us. We reach out to allies who might support what we're doing. And we prepare for the fight that's coming. The blood moon rises in 6 weeks, Marcus rumbled, speaking of the rare lunar event when the moon turned red for 3 nights. Ancient magic is strongest then. It would be an auspicious time to formally establish your sovereignty. Then we have 6 weeks to prepare, Kyle said. Let's make them count. And so they did. The compound transformed over the following weeks from a hidden sanctuary into the beating heart of something new. Wolves began arriving, cautiously at first, then in growing numbers. Omegas who'd been abused in their packs, betas who disagreed with their alphas' brutal policies, even a few alphas who'd been cast out for showing mercy or wisdom instead of pure strength. Ilara met with each one personally, using her empathic abilities to sense their intentions, their fears, their hopes. She turned away those who came seeking power without responsibility, but welcomed those who genuinely wanted to be part of building something better. The Shadow Guard trained the newcomers, transforming them from refugees into the foundation of a new kind of pack, one built on the old ways, where every wolf had value regardless of their rank. On the night of the blood moon, as the sky turned crimson and ancient magic thrummed through the earth, Ilara stood before her assembled wolves, nearly 100 strong now, and spoke the old words that claimed territory and established sovereignty. By moon and star, by earth and stone, by blood and bone and sacred oath, I claim these lands. I name them Silver Peak territory, sanctuary for the lost and foundation for the new age. Any who enter in peace will find protection. Any who enter with violence will find justice. Under the witness of the moon goddess and the power she granted, I, Ilara Stormbringer, declare myself matriarch and guardian of these lands and these wolves. The assembled pack howled, their voices rising in harmony to meet the blood moon hanging overhead. And for just a moment, Ilara swore she heard another voice join them, ancient, powerful, feminine. The moon goddess herself, acknowledging what had been built in her name. Beside her, Kyle shifted to his massive, dire wolf form and howled his acceptance of her leadership. One by one, the Shadow Guard did the same, followed by every wolf present. The sound shook the mountain, rolled across the valleys, and carried to every pack within 100 miles. The matriarch had risen, the old ways had awakened, and nothing would ever be the same. In the weeks that followed, as Ilara's territory solidified and her reputation spread, Kyle found her one evening standing on the highest point of the compound, looking out over the land she now protected. "Credits for your thoughts?" he asked, coming to stand beside her. "I was thinking about Darius," she admitted. "About the rejection. 6 months ago, I would have said that being rejected by my fated mate was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And now? Now, I think it was the best thing." She turned to face him, and the moonlight caught in her eyes, those eyes that now glowed with her inner power. If he'd accepted the bond, I would still be trapped as that scared little Omega, my power bound, my true nature suppressed. The rejection shattered the binding. It set me free. "He made a mistake," Kyle said. "He didn't just lose a mate. He lost his queen." Ilara smiled, reaching out to take his scarred hand. The moon goddess works in mysterious ways. Maybe Darius was never meant to be my fated mate. Maybe that bond was just the catalyst I needed to become who I was always meant to be. And what about after? Kale's thumb brushed over her knuckles. Fated bonds are rare, sacred. Do you think you'll ever want that again? With someone else? I don't know, Ilara said honestly. But I know that fated isn't the same as chosen. And right now, I'm very happy with what I've chosen. She squeezed his hand. A partner who values me. A guard who protects me. A family that chose me back. That feels more powerful than any bond the moon goddess could have created. Kyle's smile was rare and beautiful. Then we build on that. Together. Together, Ilara agreed. They stood there as the moon rose higher. Silver and full and bright. The territory spread out below them, peaceful for now, but with challenges still to come. Other packs were watching, waiting, deciding whether to accept or resist this new order. Ancient threats were stirring, drawn by the matriarch's awakening. But for tonight, there was peace. There was pack. There was purpose. Ilara was no longer the rejected Omega, cast out and left to die. She was the risen matriarch and the future, bright and dangerous and full of possibility, stretched out before her. And so Ilara's journey from forgotten Omega to legendary matriarch reached its first milestone. She learned that sometimes being broken open is the only way to discover the strength that was trapped inside all along. That rejection can be redirection. That the family we choose can be more powerful than the one we're born to. The Blackthorn pack had laughed when she was cast out, certain they'd seen the last of their weakest member. But they weren't laughing when she returned as a queen, crowned not by birth, but by survival, by prophecy, by the power they'd tried so hard to deny. The old saying goes, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." For Ilara, what was meant to kill her instead awakened something ancient and unstoppable. The moon goddess's greatest gift isn't always the comfortable path. Sometimes it's the breaking that allows us to become who we were always meant to be. So what about you? Have you ever been rejected by someone or something only to discover it led you exactly where you needed to be? Has a painful ending ever become a powerful beginning? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your story. If you enjoyed this tale of transformation and triumph, make sure to hit that like button and share it with anyone who needs a reminder that being underestimated is sometimes the greatest advantage. Subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss the next chapter of our journey through myths, magic, and the power of becoming who you were always meant to be. Because Ilara's story is far from over. The blood moon has passed, but ancient evils are stirring in the darkness, drawn by the matriarch's awakening. Old enemies plot revenge, and new allies emerge from unexpected places. The real battle for the future of wolfkind is just beginning. Thank you for listening to this chapter. We'll see you in the next one, where the shadows grow longer and the stakes become even higher. Until then, remember, you are never as small as others try to make you feel.